Have you ever wondered if there's a deeper connection between physical acts of intimacy and the emotional bond in a relationship? Could something as intimate as performing oral sex on your wife strengthen your relationship in ways you've never imagined? In this video, we're going to explore the profound impact of intimacy on relationships, beyond just physical pleasure. You'll hear a touching story about Andrew and Helen, a couple who, through simple yet meaningful gestures, transformed their relationship. By the end of this video, you'll understand how emotional connection, mutual respect, and attention to detail can create a bond that goes far deeper than physical acts alone. But that's not all. Stick with me until the end, and I'll show you how these small, intentional acts of love can enhance both your emotional intimacy and physical connection, leading to a happier, more fulfilling relationship. Plus, I'll share how Andrew and Helen's journey could inspire your path to a deeper, more loving connection with your partner. So, if you're ready to discover how these powerful, yet often overlooked, gestures can transform your love life, stay tuned. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. Dear lady, the young man began, his voice trembling with a mixture of curiosity and uncertainty. Is there something truly special about men who perform oral sex on their wives? Does it change anything in the relationship? Is it just a physical act, or does it have a deeper emotional meaning? Does it alter the connection between partners in ways that we don't often talk about? His eyes, filled with raw honesty and a hint of vulnerability, searched Sophia's face for an answer, hoping that her wisdom might shed light on a question that lingered in his mind. Sophia, who had witnessed the ebb and flow of life and relationships over many years, looked up at the sky. The brilliant blue stretched endlessly above her, and the soft chime of distant bells carried on the breeze, filling the air with a quiet sense of peace. The world seemed to pause, offering her a moment to reflect. A small, knowing smile graced her lips, and she felt the weight of the young man's question settle in her heart. She knew that this wasn't just about the act itself. It was about love, vulnerability, connection, and the deep, complex ways in which two people can share their lives. To teach him the answer, she would need to tell him more than a simple explanation. She would need to share a story that would not only touch his mind but his heart as well. My dears, she began softly, her voice warm and soothing, as if to draw the young man into the story she was about to share. Let me tell you a story. A story from many years ago, when the world was still young and the city we now know was just beginning to take shape. The streets were not yet paved with concrete or steel. They were paved with dreams, hopes, and the quiet promises of love that lived in the hearts of the people. Back then, love wasn't something that could be measured or defined by the modern expectations of the world. It was something deeper, something that spoke to the soul and transcended the fleeting moments of life. Sophia paused for a moment, her gaze lifting as if she could see the past unfolding in front of her. There was a man named Andrew, a man who was known for his generosity, his courage, and the depth of his heart. Andrew was the kind of man who would give you his last piece of bread if you were hungry, the kind of man who would stand up for what was right, no matter the cost. His love for others was boundless, and yet, there was one person he loved more than anyone else in the world: his wife, Helen. Sophia's voice softened even further, as if speaking of a love so pure and genuine that it could move mountains. Andrew's love for Helen was not the kind of love that faded with time or grew cold with the passage of years. No, his love was deep, steady, and unyielding, like the roots of an ancient tree. It was vast and infinite, as vast as the sky itself, reaching far beyond the physical realm and into the spiritual. His love for her was so consuming, so complete, that it colored every moment of his life. Every breath he took, every decision he made, was a reflection of the love he felt for her. And yet, despite the depth of his love, Andrew often found himself wondering if there was more he could do to show her just how much she meant to him. Sophia's voice trembled slightly as she spoke, the emotion of the story making her pause for a moment. You see, Andrew didn't want his love for Helen to be just something he felt inside. He wanted her to know, truly know, how much she was cherished. He wanted to make sure that every part of her felt seen, valued, and adored. But as much as he showed her through words, through gifts and actions, he still wondered, could he do more? Could he find a way to express his love in a way that was as profound as the feelings in his heart? Could his love be more than just the things he did for her, more than just the moments he spent with her? Could there be a way to show her a deeper, more intimate love? Sophia's eyes misted over as she continued, her voice becoming even more tender. And so, Andrew spent many sleepless nights pondering this question. He knew that love wasn't something that could simply be wrapped up in grand gestures or material gifts. Love, true love, was something far more elusive. It wasn't about showing the world how much you cared. It was about showing that person, the one you loved most, how deeply you understood them, how truly you saw them for who they were. Love wasn't about taking, it was about giving. Giving yourself completely and vulnerably to the other person, offering them a part of yourself that no one else could touch. Sophia looked down at her hands, lost in the story as if it were her own. And then one day, Andrew realized something simple, yet profound. He realized that love wasn't just about the grand moments or the sweeping gestures. It was about the small, intimate acts of care, tenderness, and understanding. It was about touching the soul of the one you loved in ways that spoke louder than words. And in that realization, Andrew understood that sometimes the most intimate and loving acts were the ones that happened in the quiet, vulnerable spaces of a relationship. The moments where you give yourself completely, where you open up to each other without fear or hesitation. It was in these moments that love truly flourished. Sophia paused for a moment, looking directly at the young man, her gaze soft but steady. You see, dear one, true intimacy is not just about the physical act. It is about the connection that it creates between two souls. It is about the trust, the vulnerability, and the deep emotional bond that forms when two people share something so intimate. In those moments, when you are willing to be open and unguarded, you are showing the other person that you cherish them in a way that transcends the physical. You are honoring them not just with your body, but with your heart, your mind, and your soul. Sophia's voice became even softer as she spoke, her words infused with the weight of years of experience and love. Andrew's love for Helen wasn't defined by one act or another. It was a constant, growing force that shaped their relationship in ways neither of them could have predicted. And while the physical acts of love, like oral sex, may seem trivial or fleeting to some, to those who understand the deeper meaning of love, these acts can be powerful. They are not just acts of pleasure. They are acts of deep connection, of emotional exchange, of giving yourself to the other person in the most vulnerable and honest way. She paused again, allowing her words to settle in. So, to answer your question, my dear, yes. There is something truly special about men who perform acts of intimacy for their wives, as long as those acts come from a place of love, respect, and understanding. It is not about the physicality. It is about the emotional depth that such an act can foster between two people who are willing to open their hearts and souls to one another. Sophia's smile was gentle but knowing. Love, in its truest form, is not just about the gestures we make, but about the bond we create when we truly give of ourselves. And that, my dear, is the most beautiful part of love. A love that is built on trust, respect, and the willingness to be vulnerable with each other. Andrew and Helen shared countless unforgettable moments, moments that seemed to stretch across time, filled with the kind of laughter that came from the very core of their beings. Each day spent together was an adventure, a shared exploration into the unknown mysteries of the world around them. But it wasn't just the world they explored, it was each other. With every conversation, every shared look, and every small touch, they unraveled new layers of themselves, constantly discovering new depths in their love for one another. Their bond was a unique one, the kind that didn't need grand gestures to be felt. It was in the everyday things, the quiet moments in the morning, the spontaneous laughter after a joke, the comforting silence that spoke volumes. The way they connected emotionally, the way they truly saw each other, was the foundation of their relationship. Andrew was a man who poured his heart into everything he did, especially when it came to Helen. He didn't just love her, he cherished her in every sense of the word. From the smallest acts of kindness to the grandest gestures of affection, Andrew's dedication to making Helen feel valued and appreciated was unwavering. There was something about her that made him want to be the best version of himself, to ensure that she felt every ounce of his love, even in the little things. Whether it was surprising her with her favorite flowers after a long day or simply holding her hand during a quiet evening, he never stopped finding ways to show her how much she meant to him. He knew, deep in his soul, that love was a constant action. It was something you gave, something you nurtured, and something you never let slip away. One evening, as the world seemed to slow down and the soft glow of the full moon bathed the night in its tender light, Andrew found himself reflecting on the depth of their love. They were sitting outside, wrapped in the warmth of the night air, their laughter from earlier still lingering in the air between them. The moonlight created an almost magical atmosphere, casting soft shadows around them as if nature itself was in harmony with their love. It was in this peaceful moment, under the vastness of the sky, that Andrew realized there was one question he needed to ask. A question that had been on his mind for quite some time, one that came from a place of pure sincerity and vulnerability. He turned to Helen, the woman who had become his everything, and asked, "How can I make our intimacy even more special? I want to understand what truly matters to you, what will deepen the bond we already share." His voice was gentle, but there was an underlying depth to it. This wasn't just about physical closeness. This was about creating something more profound, more lasting. He wanted to know how to connect with her not just on a surface level, but on an emotional and spiritual level. He wanted to make their intimacy not just a physical experience, but a shared journey that brought them even closer together. Helen looked at him with eyes that glowed with love, trust, and understanding. At that moment, it felt as though the world had paused, and the two of them were the only ones who existed. Her gaze met his with such tenderness, and her heart swelled with appreciation for the man sitting beside her. He was the embodiment of the love she had always dreamed of, caring, thoughtful, and deeply attuned to her needs. She knew that his question came from a place of deep respect and a genuine desire to strengthen their connection, and that filled her with a profound sense of gratitude. After a brief pause, Helen responded, her voice soft but firm, carrying the wisdom of someone who had truly embraced the essence of love and connection. "Andrew," she began, her words flowing like a gentle river, "true intimacy is not just about the physical. It's about the emotional and spiritual bond we share. It's about being there for each other, not just in moments of passion, but in the quiet times too. The way we support one another, the way we listen, the way we care. Intimacy is built on trust, vulnerability, and the shared understanding that we are here for each other, no matter what. If you want to please me, truly please me, then show me that you see me, not just with your eyes, but with your heart. Do it with love, with attention, with a kind of tenderness that speaks volumes. Pay attention to the little things that make me feel seen, heard, and cherished." Helen's words were simple, yet they held a profound truth. Intimacy, the kind that truly nurtures a relationship, goes far beyond the physical touch. It's in the way you communicate, the way you make your partner feel valued, and the way you build a deep emotional connection that lasts. It was at that moment that Andrew realized that their intimacy was so much more than a physical act. It was about the bond they shared, the way they touched each other's souls without even saying a word. Sophia, who had been quietly listening to the exchange, paused for a moment to let Helen's words sink in. She could see the young couple before her, eyes locked, hearts open, and knew that what they had was something rare and beautiful. She let the silence fill the room, allowing the power of Helen's wisdom to resonate in their hearts. Love wasn't just something you felt, it was something you built, nurtured, and constantly strengthened. It was in every touch, every word, and every shared moment of vulnerability. In that quiet, powerful moment, it became clear to all that true intimacy isn't something you just experience. It's something you create together, with love, respect, and a deep understanding of each other's needs. It's about being emotionally present and showing up for each other in every sense of the word, building a foundation of trust and connection that lasts through the highs and lows of life. And in that, Andrew and Helen had found something truly extraordinary. Helen's words resonated deeply with Andrew, stirring something profound inside him that had remained dormant for years. He had always thought of intimacy as a physical connection, but what Helen revealed to him was something far more meaningful. As he began to explore new forms of intimacy, he realized that every act of love, every touch, and every gesture had layers of depth that went beyond mere physicality. He soon discovered that performing oral sex on Helen was not just an act of pleasure, it was a sacred act of love, respect, and devotion. It was a way of expressing to her, in the most intimate of ways, that he valued every part of her being, both inside and out. For Andrew, it became clear that this act was not about his satisfaction, but about cherishing Helen in a way that made her feel cherished and wanted, that made her feel like she was the most important person in the world to him. As the days went on, Andrew began to understand the full weight of what he was doing. With each intimate act, he wasn't just satisfying her physically, he was communicating his deep, unwavering affection. By showing Helen his willingness to put her needs above his own, Andrew felt he was offering her something profoundly beautiful. It wasn't just about the physicality of the act itself, but about what it represented. It was an offering of vulnerability, tenderness, and an acknowledgement of her beauty in its purest, most unguarded form. He began to see how these gestures of love created a deeper connection between them, one that surpassed anything he had experienced before. The act was a bridge that brought them closer, not just in a physical sense, but in an emotional and spiritual sense as well. He realized that intimacy, in all its forms, was about creating a space where both partners could feel safe, loved, and appreciated for exactly who they were. Helen, for her part, was deeply moved by Andrew's actions. She had never felt so loved, so seen, and so appreciated in all her life. For her, every act of intimacy with Andrew, no matter how simple or grand, became a reaffirmation of the love and respect they shared. She felt like she was truly being honored in a deeply meaningful way. Every time Andrew showed his affection for her in such intimate ways, it reminded her of how lucky she was to be with someone who valued her so much. It wasn't just about the physical pleasure, it was about the emotional connection that was woven with every gesture. The warmth she felt from his attentiveness and devotion filled her with a sense of deep gratitude and love. It was a love that was not just given, but earned, through the small, beautiful acts of kindness that formed the fabric of their relationship. As their connection deepened, Andrew began to understand that the true beauty of their intimacy was not just in the moments of passion, but in the little things, the small, tender moments that allowed them to truly connect. These weren't the grand, cinematic gestures that often define love stories, but the quiet, everyday moments that, when strung together, created something far more lasting. It was in the way Andrew made sure to listen to Helen after a long day, in the way he gently cupped her face when they kissed, in the way he held her close and made her feel like she was his entire world. These little acts, often unnoticed or dismissed as insignificant, were the ones that truly built their bond, their love. Andrew came to see that true intimacy wasn't defined by the big moments, but by the quiet, unspoken understanding that grew over time between two people who genuinely cared for one another. One night, as they walked through the lush, fragrant paths of a botanical garden, the golden hues of sunset casting a warm glow on the flowers and trees, Helen stopped and turned to Andrew. She gazed up at him with a soft, loving smile that melted his heart. She reached for his hand, her fingers intertwining with his, and spoke with a quiet sincerity that made Andrew's heart swell. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with deep emotion. "Thank you for always making me feel special. I've come to understand that true intimacy isn't found in grand, dramatic gestures, but in the small, everyday acts of love that we share. It's in the way you show up for me in the quiet moments, the way you take time to make sure I'm okay, and the way you care for me without asking for anything in return." Those are the things that make me feel loved." Andrew, overwhelmed by the depth of her words, smiled gently and responded, his voice thick with emotion. "True love, Helen, is made up of the details. The small moments that are often overlooked but are the ones that matter. I'm just grateful that we can share those moments. There's no one else I'd rather share my life with. You're my everything." He could see the love in her eyes, the way she looked at him not just as her partner, but as her equal, as someone who truly saw her for all that she was. Flaws, beauty, strength, and vulnerability. As they stood there, their fingers still entwined, a sense of quiet peace washed over them. It was a peace born from knowing they had something real, something lasting. In that moment, Andrew realized that true intimacy was not just about the physical closeness they shared, but about the emotional vulnerability that came with giving oneself fully to another person. It was about being present in each other's lives, even in the smallest moments. As they continued their walk through the garden, their hearts swelling with a love that was as deep as the earth beneath their feet, Andrew knew that their bond was something rare and precious, something that could only grow stronger with each passing day. The story of Andrew and Helen was far from over. It had evolved into a beautiful, ever-developing journey that neither of them could have anticipated. From the very beginning, they had shared a love that seemed to grow stronger with every passing year, yet they never stopped seeking new ways to nurture it. They believed that true love wasn't something that could simply be taken for granted or left to evolve on its own. Instead, it was a conscious effort, a commitment to constantly learning about each other and themselves. They sought out experiences together that allowed their love to deepen, exploring new places that had always been on their bucket list, and embracing life's adventures, knowing that these moments would help strengthen their bond even further. Each adventure they embarked on wasn't just about sightseeing or checking off a list. It was an opportunity to rediscover one another. Each journey held the promise of rekindling their connection, of reaffirming the love they shared and exploring it in new and exciting ways. They understood that love, like life, was a series of small, everyday moments, each one building on the last to create something immeasurable and profound. Their trips weren't just about the places they visited, but the space they created for each other. Space to grow, to learn, and to evolve together, forever bound by the shared experiences that filled the chapters of their relationship. One such unforgettable adventure took them high into the mountains, to a place where the world seemed to fall away, leaving nothing but the breathtaking vastness of nature before them. The air was crisp and cool, and the view from the mountaintop was nothing short of awe-inspiring, with valleys stretching out beneath them like something from a dream. As they stood together, arms wrapped around each other, feeling the peace and serenity of the mountaintop, they came across something they had never expected: an ancient monastery, hidden away in the folds of the mountain like a secret waiting to be discovered. Their hearts quickened with curiosity, and they made the spontaneous decision to explore the monastery, to immerse themselves in the history and the calm energy that seemed to radiate from the stone walls. Inside, they were greeted by an elderly monk, his deep-set eyes gleaming with wisdom and experience. His welcoming smile exuded warmth, and his gentle, quiet voice seemed to hold centuries of knowledge. He invited them to wander the monastery, showing them the sacred rooms filled with incense and the simple beauty of the ancient architecture that had withstood the test of time. As Andrew and Helen walked through the peaceful space, they couldn't help but feel a sense of awe, not just from the beauty of the monastery itself, but from the spiritual tranquility that seemed to hang in the air. It was as if time had slowed within these walls, allowing them to fully absorb the weight of each passing moment. The monk, who had quietly observed the deep, unspoken bond between Andrew and Helen, saw something in their connection that resonated with him. Perhaps it was the way they looked at each other, the way their hands instinctively sought out each other's touch, or the way they shared soft, knowing smiles. Whatever it was, the monk recognized that they had a rare and precious kind of love, and he felt compelled to share something with them. A secret, perhaps, that could help them grow even deeper in their connection. "My dear ones," the monk began, his voice calm and soothing, "true love is not simply an emotion. It is a path, one of endless discoveries. It is a journey that you walk together, one that requires patience, understanding, and the willingness to learn from each other. It is not just about grand gestures or declarations. It is in the small, quiet moments, the ones where you give of yourself to your partner, even in the most intimate ways. Each act of love, no matter how seemingly insignificant, is a step toward a stronger, more profound connection. Even the most personal, physical expressions of love, like sharing yourself with your partner in intimate ways, are not just gestures. They are acts of deep respect and admiration. When you make love to your partner, when you offer yourself in those vulnerable ways, you show your reverence for them, for their beauty and their worth. It is a recognition of who they are, not just on the surface, but deep within, where only love can truly touch. And it is through these acts that you create a space of mutual trust and openness. A space where both of you can be vulnerable and completely authentic with each other. The words hung in the air like a sacred offering, and Andrew and Helen stood, absorbed in the monk's message. They had always known that their love was special, but this moment made them realize just how much more it could be. It wasn't just about being together. It was about showing up for each other in the most profound and honest ways. Each intimate act was an opportunity to affirm their love, to honor each other's body, mind, and soul, and to deepen the trust that had been steadily built between them. It was not about the perfection of any one moment, but about the continual offering of themselves to one another, in the quiet and sacred spaces where their hearts intertwined. Leaving the monastery, Andrew and Helen felt a renewed sense of closeness, as if their love had been elevated to a new level of understanding. They realized that every single moment of their journey together had been a lesson in love, and that each new experience was another chance to love each other even more deeply. They understood that love wasn't just something that happened to them. It was something they created together every single day. The monk's words had opened their eyes to the subtle ways they could continue to honor and cherish each other, through acts of love both great and small. They left the mountains with a sense of peace and fulfillment, knowing that they had discovered something truly profound, something that would carry them forward on their journey together, no matter where life took them next. And with every new adventure, every new moment of shared joy, they would continue to uncover the depths of their love, a love that was as timeless as the monastery in the mountains. Sophia took a deep breath and paused, her gaze softening as she looked at the young couple standing before her. She could see the hopeful spark in their eyes, and she knew they were at a turning point in their journey together. With a calm yet profoundly sincere tone, she began to speak, her voice carrying the wisdom of a lifetime of love, loss, and growth. Andrew and Helen, much like all of us, learned something truly transformative about love. That true intimacy isn't something that comes easily or instantly. It's something that requires time, commitment, and, most importantly, effort. It's not a destination. It's a continuous journey, built moment by moment, day by day, gesture by gesture. Their love didn't just happen. It grew over time, cultivated through the small, seemingly insignificant acts that show true care and devotion. What they discovered was that these gestures, the gentle touch, the thoughtful words, the quiet moments shared, are the very foundation upon which a strong and lasting relationship is built. Sophia paused for a moment, looking down at her hands as if recalling the lessons of her own life. She then raised her head, her eyes now brimming with emotion as she continued. You see, Andrew and Helen learned the importance of open, honest communication. They came to understand that in any relationship, no matter how strong the love is, misunderstandings can happen. And when they do, it's the willingness to speak truthfully and listen with an open heart that makes all the difference. They didn't shy away from the hard conversations. They knew that speaking up when something was bothering them, no matter how uncomfortable it felt, was the only way to keep their bond strong. It wasn't just about sharing their dreams and hopes, but also their fears, insecurities, and the shadows that lingered in their hearts. Through this kind of raw vulnerability, they found an intimacy that wasn't based on perfection, but on acceptance. The acceptance that both of them had flaws, yet their love was unwavering. Her voice softened as if lost in the reflection of her thoughts. And perhaps the most beautiful lesson of all, they learned that love is not static, it's fluid. It's constantly evolving, growing, and adapting. It's not about reaching a point and saying, "This is it, we've arrived." No, love is a process of discovery. It's about constantly finding new ways to connect, to share new experiences, to explore new depths. Andrew and Helen weren't afraid of change. They welcomed it. They understood that what worked in the beginning of their relationship might not always work years down the road. And that was okay. They took joy in exploring new ways to express their love, whether it was through shared hobbies, spontaneous acts of kindness, or simply finding new ways to look after each other. They realized that intimacy is an ongoing journey, one that requires intention, effort, and a deep desire to stay close even as time moves on. Sophia's eyes gleamed with pride as she spoke of their enduring connection. Even when life got tough, when they faced challenges, or when the weight of the world seemed too much to bear, they held on to one truth: their commitment to each other. They knew that love, real love, is not always about grand romantic gestures or magical moments. Sometimes, it's in the quiet mornings over a cup of coffee, the gentle rub of a sore shoulder, the shared laugh at the end of a long day. Those moments, simple as they may seem, were the moments that anchored them in their love. It was through these moments that they nurtured their relationship, breathing life into it, and ensuring that it never grew stagnant. Their love became a reflection of their deep care for each other, continually expressed in meaningful ways, no matter how small they seemed. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. The young couple, standing there in silence, listened intently. Their hearts swelled with emotion as if each word Sophia spoke was a truth that resonated deep within them. They could feel the weight of her wisdom, and it was as though the love she spoke of was unfolding right in front of them. Their gazes met, and in that shared glance, they both understood something profound. Love was not just something to be experienced, it was something to be nurtured, built, and constantly renewed. Sophia could see the reflection of her words in their eyes, the understanding taking root in their hearts. She smiled warmly, as if seeing the future of their relationship unfold right before her. "When you leave here today," she said gently, "I want you to remember that love, in all its forms, is not just about being there for each other in the easy times. It's about being there when it's hard, when the world feels heavy, and when you're both struggling to find your way. Those are the moments that truly define the strength of your bond." Just as Andrew and Helen found, love doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence, honesty, and an unwavering commitment to one another. The young couple's faces softened with gratitude as they took in Sophia's words. They thanked her from the bottom of their hearts, feeling a profound sense of connection to one another. Her wisdom had opened their eyes to the beauty of love's complexity, and they both felt a deep, unspoken understanding growing between them. They knew that their relationship had just been given a new foundation, one built on truth, patience, and the willingness to continuously explore and deepen their bond. As they walked back to their home, hand in hand, their hearts felt fuller, their connection stronger. They exchanged looks, silently agreeing that they would carry Sophia's teachings with them, always striving to nurture their love through the small, tender moments that would define their future together. They knew that their love had the power to grow deeper, richer, and more beautiful with every passing day, and they were ready to embrace that journey with open hearts and a renewed sense of purpose. As we come to the end of today's video, I want to ask you, what have you learned from the story of Andrew and Helen? Have you discovered new insights into how small acts of love and emotional connection can truly transform a relationship? Perhaps you've realized that true intimacy goes beyond the physical. It's about how we nurture and honor our partner emotionally, and how these gestures can strengthen the bond we share. Take a moment to reflect on one thing that resonated with you most. Is it the idea that true love is built through consistent, thoughtful actions? Or maybe it's the understanding that showing respect and admiration through intimate gestures, like oral sex, isn't just physical, but a deeper expression of love and commitment. What is one thing you've learned that you plan to bring into practice in your relationship or life? I'd love to hear from you. Please comment below and share one thing you've learned today that you'll carry with you moving forward. Whether it's a shift in perspective or a new approach to how you connect with your partner, your thoughts can inspire others who are on a similar journey toward building stronger, more loving relationships. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to leave your comment below. And if you liked what you heard today, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. By subscribing and turning on the notification bell, you'll never miss out on more inspiring stories and valuable insights to help you strengthen your connections and live a more fulfilling life. Thank you for being a part of our community. I truly appreciate you taking the time to watch, and I look forward to sharing more thoughtful content with you soon. Stay connected, and let's keep growing together in love and wisdom.